We just had a pretty good thunderstorm go through the Aberdeen area, and there are a few spotty thunderstorms around. Nothing severe at the moment. The best chance of thunder is going to be between now and sunset. Otherwise, whatever we have should die out overnight. Lows in the mid-60s. Now, Rapid City could have some continued chances for thunderstorms that could be a little stronger in the southwest corner of South Dakota. Then during the day tomorrow, we'll do it all again. It's going to be another hot day. 88 Sioux Falls, 90 Aberdeen, breezy 88 in Pierre, breezy 78 in Rapid City. More showers, thunder showers possible late in the day, and that trend will continue into the weekend. Your weekend forecast is just ahead. KELOLAND News starts now.
Live from KELOLAND Media Group, KELOLAND News first at 4.
3 people are still missing in the collapsed apartment building in Davenport, Iowa, as new documents reveal issues with the building.
Plus, on its final few days, the community of Yankton showed up to support Joe Deans as it closed after 51 years.
And later, we talk with KELOLAND's Dan Santella about the latest Midwest Honor Flight trip and the stories that he got to hear during the mission. Good afternoon, and thanks for tuning in to First at 4. I'm Don Jorgensen.
And I'm Kelly Volk. South Dakota continues to see an increase in officer-involved shootings. The state averages 3 to 4 a year. However, last year, there were a dozen officer-involved shootings.
And the latest one was in Rapid City. On Tuesday, officers encountered 2 men while enforcing a no-contact order, and one of them was shot and killed.
It is a tough situation where there's one deceased, one seriously injured. Obviously, DCI was brought in to do the main investigation, working directly with the Spearfish Police Department. The Highway Patrol is helping with some mapping. I'll be working directly with the Pennington County State's Attorney to evaluate that.
The Rapid City officer-involved shooting is the third one this year. Tonight on KELOLAND News at 6, we find out what is being done to lower the number of times officers fire their guns.
A structural engineer report issued just days before an Iowa apartment building partially collapsed indicated a wall of the century-old structure was in imminent risk of crumbling. Despite that, residents were allowed to remain inside the building. Officials say that they relied on the engineer's assurances that the building remained safe. The city gave an update this morning saying that 3 residents are still unaccounted for. There are no immediate plans to demolish the building just yet. Crews are using drones to scan the structure and consulting with experts about how to safely bring it down.
A Des Moines woman who killed the man she said raped her as a teen won't serve any more jail time after walking away from custody last year. Piper Lewis was originally charged with first-degree murder, but prosecutors agreed to a lesser charge. After her conviction, Lewis was given a deferred 20-year sentence and put on 5 years probation. That probation required her to perform community service and live at the Fresh Start Women's Center. Back in November, she cut off her tracking bracelet and escaped. She was found a few days later. A judge suspended a sentence for Lewis and instead placed her back on probation. The Polk County attorney agreed with the decision, saying Lewis would be vulnerable to re-victimization if she was placed in prison.
All right, let's get a look at our weather. Another warm day out there across KELOLAND.
Yeah, I would like a little break from the heat, Megan.
Well, unfortunately, that is not coming quite yet. Temperatures are going to remain well above normal through next week. Right now, 87 degrees in Sioux Falls with plenty of sunshine and the south winds at 11 miles an hour. Aberdeen getting a little break from a thunderstorm this afternoon, 75 right now. South winds are at 11 miles an hour there. Here is a look at KELOLAND live Doppler radar. We did have that severe thunderstorm warning in Aberdeen. It has now been expired. Few thunderstorms are still moving through the area, like by Warner, down towards Redfield, Tulare, Webster, Gettysburg, Oneida. Those keep heading to the northwest. In southwestern South Dakota, a few more thunderstorms are picking up along the Nebraska border between Gregory, Mission, heading towards Rapid City and Wall this afternoon. These storms are also moving to the northwest. Our temperatures today are well above normal. 90 right now in Mitchell, 92 in Sisseton, 88 in Pierre, and 83 degrees in Phillip. This afternoon into this evening, we have that marginal risk of severe weather in southwestern South Dakota, mainly in that green area for hail and strong winds if you are under a thunderstorm. For tonight, few showers are possible in central and eastern KELOLAND. 65 in Sioux Falls, 64 in Aberdeen, 65 in Pierre, and 57 in Rapid City, where they could see a few more late night thunderstorms. Tomorrow, 88 in Sioux Falls, 90 in Aberdeen, 88 in Pierre, and 78 in Rapid City. Tomorrow has the better chance of seeing afternoon thunderstorms. This pattern will continue into the weekend. We'll take a closer look in just a little bit.
All right, thanks, Megan. Well, just coming into our KELOLAND newsroom, South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem says she's deploying 50 South Dakota National Guard troops to the southern border later this summer. Noem says crime rates, drug overdoses, and human trafficking have all skyrocketed because the border is a war zone. South Dakota's governor joins a group of 12 other Republican governors sending troops to the southern border.
The top Democrat in the Senate says that lawmakers will stay in Washington until they send the debt ceiling deal to President Joe Biden. But the clock is ticking.
And Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen warns the country will run out of money June 5th. KELOLAND News Washington, D.C. correspondent Jesse Turner reports on where the bill stands.
Senators are still trying to figure out their next move here, but the debate looks very similar to the House.
We will keep working until the job is done.
It's now the Senate's turn to take up the debt limit deal. And like in the House, the leaders of both parties plan to vote for it.
It's about preserving the full faith and credit of the United States.
A promising step toward fiscal sanity.
But they'll have to get at least 58 of their colleagues to join them to send the bill to President Joe Biden.
Unfortunately, this bill just doesn't do enough to control spending, and there's no real structural reform.
Missouri Republican Eric Schmidt plans to vote no because the legislation does not cut spending enough, while Arkansas Republican Tom Cotton says it cuts defense spending too much.
Which I cannot support, as grave dangers gather on the horizon.
Virginia Democrat Tim Kaine is skeptical of the bill because he says it will greenlight a controversial pipeline project in his state that he's opposed for years.
I think it's frankly an outrageous giveaway that is unjustified.
But Ohio Democrat Sherrod Brown plans to vote yes because he says the country cannot afford to default on June 5th.
Overall, it's going to matter to keep our economy strong.
And the Senate could vote on the bill as early as tonight. In Washington, I'm Jesse Chenor.
The start of June marks the beginning of Pride Month around the U.S. and some parts of the world. This year's Pride takes place in a contentious political climate in which some states have tried to ban drag shows, prohibit gender-affirming care, and limit how teachers can talk about sexuality and gender in the classroom. June has been an important month for the LGBTQ rights movement since New York City's first Pride March on June 28, 1970. It came a year after the 1969 uprising at New York City's Stonewall Inn after police raided the gay bar. More than a half century later, the annual parades and festivals have been an opportunity to demand action.
A community staple in Yankton has officially closed its doors for good after more than 50 years. The owners of Jodine's Steakhouse announced their last day was going to be May 31st. On one of its last days, the restaurant was already packed right after it opened. A member of the Yankton Chamber of Commerce says that the closure of Jodine's will be felt by community members and business owners alike.
Regionally, people come to Yankton just to eat at Jodine's, so it's been a great draw for residents as well as tourists to come into the community. So we are really sad to see them go.
Been there a few times myself, and there's going to be an online auction on June 19th and 20th. It will include antiques at the restaurant as well as equipment.